Just when you thought it was over, we started it over. Just a different chapter, but still part of the story. Spirit of a patriot, but the heart of a soldier. If you wasn't part of the grind, you can't be part of the glory. We right here, we ain't going nowhere. It's your worst nightmare. We back and they all scared. Every year is our year. The defense is top tier. Whenever you see that red and blue, it's a new era. They too scared of us. I don't know who said it was over, but they lied. The truth never miss, kicking down the door like who let him in. We been grinding and we ain't worried about the small talk. We big timers.
Yeah, can't believe it, we leaving. Yeah, we achieving, can't be beaten. Say it loud, say it proud from the top of my lungs. Hometown, second crown, you ain't trying with us. Around this time, you really can't deny. You can't run, you can't hide when the Patriot comes.
Okay, welcome to the Patriots Friday Night Lights podcast. I'm here with Dog Nation.
What's going on?
We just wanted to kind of start off with sending prayers to Randy Moss. He just posted that he's been battling cancer. I think he just got out of the hospital after 6 days. Seems like he's still going to be doing some chemo, but it seems like everything's going in the right direction. But I just wanted to give him his flowers because he's one of the greatest receivers ever, and it's sad to hear that he has cancer. And praying for him and his family. Hopefully, it keeps going smooth.
Yeah, for sure. One thing with Randy Moss is, I'm sorry, I was resharing. I was resharing the live. My apologies. But one thing about Randy Moss is, like, he, as a kid, like, even with him on the Vikings, that was the reason why me growing up, I got into playing football, was because of him. And I actually, one time, he was on his live. He just opened up a restaurant a couple months ago in his hometown in, I believe it's West Virginia. I was on his live, and, I just kept commenting. And I was like, I started playing football because of you. And he responded, like, he called me out by name. And he's like, why you started playing because of me? Like, that meant a lot to me just because it was like, that was my favorite player. And then just to see him come to the Patriots and everything that, like, it turned into, because, we were 3-time Super Bowl winning champions, but I feel like in that era, that was most certainly that Tom Brady superstar stardom phase.
Yeah,
I feel
for
like
sure.
he definitely contributed a lot, though it didn't result in the Super Bowl. Things happen, but it definitely meant a lot to the dynasty, because that was a turning point where we needed to pivot, and Randy Moss definitely solved that need. So,
Yep, definitely. Yep, prayers out to him, and arguably the greatest receiver ever. But yeah, prayers. Well, let's kind of pivot it over. I kind of want to start with something a little bit lighter. It's official that Bill's UNC head coach, he just had his press conference. Seems like he's already starting to recruit some high-level talent. I saw a report that the 2026 number one quarterback in the nation already wants to, meet him and talk to him and all that. So he's already getting like the best recruits in the nation. He just started.
Go ahead. No, I'm listening to you. Yeah, Bill. I loved it. Like I said, anybody that tries to say anything less about it is, personally, I don't believe, and this is just my opinion, I don't believe that Bill was worried about breaking Don Shula's record. And, I looked at what Seth Wickersham said about him, feeling disgusted by the league, especially them, like, questioning his coaching acumen and everything else. That's why I was just telling people, it's like, yeah, like, Tom played a big part, but to sit there and act like Bill was nothing, it's crazy. And it just shows, he is human, because sometimes you can't out-coach a bad quarterback. And I still go and live on with that, was that we ended up in a bad quarterback purgatory situation, which is why, because Bill's a great coach, and like I said, and what it means to him to go coach at North Carolina, his dad being an assistant
Yep.
coach there. Like I said, he grew up there, and maybe he just sees a problem with the NFL overall, that the talent that's coming in. Look how many players are getting drafted, and it's just like, well, this didn't work out, that didn't work out. So maybe
Yeah.
Bill sees that there's a problem at the college level, that maybe he wants to go in and put his imprint and set a system forward. And if,
Yeah.
God willing, that system gets successful, then people can follow behind that, and then more successful players can come into the NFL. You won't see as many first round busts or things like that, because it does start with the teaching, because
Yeah.
honestly,
He was mentioning that on the Pat McAfee show, that that's kind of his goal, is just to make an NFL factory and just
yeah,
like teach these young kids how to, be responsible with their money, how to like really treat it as like a job and not just, hey, you're going to school and you're just going to ball out and have a good time. Like he's going to make this like a very serious program. And I think, I mean, that's what all these kids who want to play D1 football, they want to go in the NFL. I think they're going to respond to that really well. And his players have always loved Bill, but Bill's a very relatable kind of coach. And I think he's going to do a great job over there. And I like the way that he's kind of handled it. It's like, look, like there's one goal that we're doing, and that's to get you in the NFL. And right, he's not going to sugarcoat anything. He's just going to be like, if you want to go to the NFL, you come here. And I
right,
think he's going to get a lot of recruits.
right, and to get the education. As I said, I just love it overall, because if you're being like realistic, the NFL is like, the product that's being put out there isn't, you know used to like what we were seeing. Because yeah, there were some bad teams like in the early 2000s and the 2010s, but I feel like the game wasn't as hard for these quarterbacks, or like just the financial structure of the overall game now. And like I said, I have yet to see it work out for anybody besides the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes took his deal over a long period of time. But all these other quarterbacks are taking this all this money and everything else. Look at the situation in San Francisco. Like, that's crazy. Like, it seems like every player
Yeah.
that they had out hurt, they walked them out there on a bad condition game, and then they lead back off the field hurt. And then you got players like Devondre Campbell walking off the field, things like that. That's because the coaching nowadays, you don't want the old school coaching no more. You want these guys that's trying to be these guys' friends. Well, guess what? I don't feel like playing today. I just watched Christian McCaffrey get hurt in the last game. Dre Greenlaw came back this game. He didn't got hurt again, because you have
Yep.
them playing in the snow and the monsoon. So, it could be possible. That's why I said, just not to get too far into them, but just overall the product in the NFL, and probably what's going on, and Bill just seeing what's there. He probably feels like he needs to go back and go to the drawing board and clean some things up at the, at the intermediate level,
Mm-hmm.
before these
Yeah.
guys get to the league, and they're acting like a lot of these guys can't play, because as much as people give Bill that, all the same people that was pushing him out, and even some people that still talk about him now they're like, oh my God, this is a great hire and everything else, because Bill's happy with his life. And like I said, he shows sympathy to his players on the Patriots, that he feels bad for them. Everybody, oh, what do you feel bad for? Because they weren't put in the best situation. Can he not? He's human. So at the end of the day, like I said, I love it. And I'm already planning on moving to North Carolina. So, like I
Yeah.
said, just
Perfect
everything
timing.
Warren's there. Yeah, everything, quarterbacks from there, like everything's
Yeah. You
points.
got to get a Drake May jersey,
Oh
a
yeah,
UNC
yeah,
jersey.
for sure.
Yeah. It'd be
For
awesome.
sure.
Um,
Definitely, for sure.
I guess with our coach, Gerard, right, there was a report saying that he's kind of fighting for his job. I feel like he's kind of been doing that for a few weeks now, but this stretch is going to be a huge stretch for him, right? Every matchup is going to be a hard nose. None of it's going to be easy. Um, I get him trying to fight for his job at this point. I mean, it's been extremely disappointing, and it doesn't really seem to be progressing in any way. And like his whole thing is like he's trying to evaluate all the players and stuff, and I'm kind of glad that everyone else is evaluating him, because my biggest concern was that Kraft wasn't gonna step away from him because of the fact that like he's been like building him up to be this coach for 5 years, and this was his little side project, and he wanted to show it off to the world, and now it's kind of backfiring, and I'm glad he's at least rumored to be accepting that and willing to face it head on.
For sure. Yeah, that's why like sometimes, I do feel like in some situation the coach receives too much heat for the player, or sometimes the player may receive too much heat for the coach. In this situation, me using my judgment and my knowledge of football, Gerard Mayo doesn't seem like a good candidate to be coaching because we can. I just don't like how the coaching staff just wants to continue to hide behind the talent thing and then leave it off to, oh, well, these are the players that build right here. It's the talent thing. But you don't justify that when, wait, it's still the same scouting staff. And all these players that you resigned are his guys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't, that stuff doesn't really come together. Like I just feel like just hearing some of his responses at the podium, and then it's like I said, I can think of a few games that he literally the coaching of the game just lost it. And I get, the Alex Van Pelt, the development of Drake May, but the rest of the offense still seems to suffer. Okay, well, certain things looks marginally better since last year. Yeah, that's because Mac Jones not throwing the ball. You know what I mean? Drake May and
Right.
Mac Jones is in two different stratospheres. So Colin Cowherd, I haven't heard him say a word since he wanted to go on the air and said, "Oh, somebody looked at Drake May in practice and they saw the ghost of Mac Jones and all this." He was so
Yeah. That.
on the air and say that, but
Yeah.
yet he hasn't said a word since. Even when Julian Edelman was on there talking about Drake May,
Yeah.
Colin just said, "Yeah," and went on to the next subject. So
Right. This is what we talked about against the Bears, right?
yeah,
No one wants
clown.
to talk. Everyone wants to talk about the other situations, and
As I said, like nowadays, like the media, like that's like Aaron Rodgers said what he said, which was kind of like low from his perspective, but I do kind of get where he's leaning towards just with certain people, how much of they're on pounding the table saying what this person should do, or what I mean, name shaming, or just trying to be a little too funny when it's like, some of y'all careers, what I mean, if you pull them up compared to his, even though the guy is an arrogant asshole.
yeah.
But
Right.
but he got a resume, he got a face card. So, but it's relatively overall like Gerard Mayo. I don't, I just don't get it. You know what I mean? And now to sit here and say, I remember Greg Bedard reported that they are going back and looking in to his last year on the staff with Bill to see. I'm paraphrasing at this point, but it kind of say to see how he contribute to the demise of the team, something like that. I gotta reread the
Thing.
quote, but it was
Yeah.
something along them lines because it even looks like I said, it looks like a Brandy Staley situation where he got hired from who was the defensive coordinator of the Rams? He got hired
Yep.
as the head
Mm-hmm.
coach of the Chargers, but then his defenses on the Chargers were just terrible.
Right. Which is such a red
Rod
flag.
Mayo, yeah,
Yeah.
he's the head coach. He's supposed to be this defensive guy, but then it's like, how much are you putting out there to the media? You want to go back to look at what he contributed to demise the team. Look at his role overall before Kraft was pulling him out to have meetings and everything else in between.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understand, he was the guy that ran the meetings. That doesn't
Yeah.
equate to you being a great overall coach where you can game plan and everything else. You're a former player. So you're at the, you know what I mean? You can meet them at the level
Right.
where
Yeah.
you can kind of see things as a player, but you probably don't see them as a coach, considering Steve Belichick was the DC.
Yeah, that's what's been like kind of the most concerning thing is like seeing how much worse the defense has gotten, even though Gerard has stayed. Like that was something that like going into the season, I'm like, oh, we're still gonna have this great defense. It's be the same exact thing the Bills has been running for years now. Like I had no concern with the defense, and all of a sudden, I mean, it has been just like 1 week they're really good, 1 week horrible, 1 week like they've been just like kind of back and forth, and it's just been not consistent. When literally the past decade, all it's been like a top 10 unit. So that's been kind of like the biggest like, is Gerard kind of to blame right now because the defense shouldn't be an issue, and it has been.
I feel like it's a combination of things. I do feel like Gerard and Kraft are at the top of it because Gerard, you should have in that situation where Bill and Kraft and you seen what was what and what was going on. Gerard should have stayed in his lane. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm.
Because it just seems like over the course since Belichick has been fired, they've been trying to scrub that culture from the Patriots when it's like, listen, this is what made us. Now, since you guys want to let things get out to the media and make it look bad, listen, families fight. Him and Tom Brady may have had their differences. Yeah, you've been saying it for years, but guess what? Since I first heard about those differences, it produced two more Super Bowls?
Hmm.
One Super Bowl, the whole Jimmy G thing or whatever the case may be. But overall, that's what it produced. And what it sounds like was Bill knew how to get the best out of Tom because a mad Tom was the best Tom. Maybe some people don't agree with that coaching and everything else, but that's how he kept the team in line. How
First thing,
many
it's not like
players?
he went in like I'm gonna be an asshole. He went in there and he's like, hey, like this is how my team responds. Like
Right,
he figured it out, right? That's why like at UNC he's gonna be so good because he's gonna figure out how he needs to coach. Right
right.
when he had Mac Jones his rookie year, right, it was a totally different type of bill, and they went 10-7, and he had the team functioning. They weren't it wasn't a stupid team. They were well coached, right, and that's kind of the whole thing with Bill is like, yeah, he's
Hmm.
never like he's always been able to figure out with his team, and I feel like Gerard kind of went in being like he thought he knew his team, and he was going to kind of be a softer coach, and it's kind of gone to the point where they're not really taking things serious, and there's been screw ups all over the field every single game, and they're just like such a non-disciplined team, which
Yeah.
that has to go on coaching for the most part.
Where's my soda? Yeah, because that right there was just overall. Like I said, I didn't like it just because, like I said, it was just like all right, now we're gonna fire Bill and then you gang up on them. Bill Simmons made a great point about the craft thing. Like, listen, you made a documentary about tearing Bill down and everything else, but what I think has happened to the Patriots overall, because people, we could talk about Bill not getting a job or whatever the case may be, but a lot of the jobs that would have opened, I wouldn't have liked him to went there anyway, because I want to see him succeed. I don't want to see look at Bill as if he's chasing something, and he's proven that by going to the college game. But
Yeah, I don't want like a like a Vince Carter situation where he's just trying to get as many points as he can, and he's averaging like 2 points a
yeah,
game. It just looks like a bomb, right? I saw the one of the big teams that was popping up was like the Bears,
right.
and like
Yeah,
uh,
who
that's
was
just
it?
such a dysfunctional franchise. I don't want him anywhere
Yeah,
near.
because it's like at the end of the day, as much crap as guys talk about Bill, but you guys want to put certain failing organizations or whatever the case may be, as you want him to be the guy to come there and fill it up. But he can't work with a young quarterback because of the Matt Patricia situation. That's crap. But just looking at it, Robert Kraft can't even get into the Hall of Fame neither. So this might be a thing towards the Patriots organization. Maybe the Spy Gates, the Deflate Gates of the world, as well as just maybe little personal conflicts and everything that goes within because Bill doesn't get hired as a head coach. Robert Kraft continues to get passed up for a Hall of Fame. So, I don't know how much of that is a factor, but I look at that as well because it's like, everybody loves Brady, but it seems like it's a FU towards Kraft and Brady. I mean Kraft and Bill by, other confidants. And
Hmm.
supposedly he spoke out against Bill about the Falcons job, saying don't trust him. But then Albert Breer, I think it was Albert Breer or Greg Bedard, one of them said they could say for sure that the Crafts actually spoke up on Bill's behalf. That's what I'm saying. It's like now these conflicting stories are coming out. One moment they're saying Gerard's safe, the next moment it's, what I mean, he may be coaching for his job, depending on how the way the team looks over the next. And then it doesn't seem like Jonathan Kraft and Robert Kraft's on the same page because it literally seems like they're both operating two different separate teams.
Yeah, yeah. His son didn't want Gerard, but Robert wanted Gerard, and yeah, it just seems like everything is just back and forth,
It
and
was already in the contract or there was going to have to be a payout. So, you already know they're going to roll him out there to work before they just literally hand him the money to say, okay, well, we're going to go with somebody else and pay him some money as well because you just elevated him from being somebody that wasn't probably high up on the staff, making a lot of money that you would pay a head coach. But now it's in the contract that once Bill walks out the door, Gerard gets elevated. That's exactly what you guys did by firing Bill, even after the extension. So now you got to pay out Bill. Do you think that they wanted to pay out Gerard too because they passed him up as a coaching candidate? So you're paying two coaches that's not there? Come on,
yeah,
man. Like it's down to the financials. Like, just sitting here honestly looking at it, I really feel like that's what it is. And it's sad to say that some of these moves were made. And I just hope that the players and the team and the fans that we don't have to sit there and suffer to continue to watch this because you made a bad financial decision with your coaching hires or whatever with the team. Like I said, and if I'm wrong about this, somebody I could be wrong, but it just all seems like that's what it's pointing towards. It makes sense because they still owe Bill money as well. So if they would have
yeah, which
Gerard,
is
from what I
yeah,
heard, there was a payout that they would have had to pay, and then you also would have had to pay whatever new coach that had to come in. Oh yeah, and Alex Van Pelt, you got him for cheap. DeMarcus Covington, you got him for cheap. Elliot
yep,
Wolf, you elevated him. You still got him for cheap too. So I, it just seems like that's what it's looking like as an organization. The Patriots just seem like they don't like to spend money.
yeah. I was gonna say it's terrifying that like if we're in a situation where we have to pay two head coaches that aren't on our team, and we're about to go into this free agency with having Drake May and trying to build around him, and like there's already like everyone's saying that the Crafts are the cheapest owners, and there's stats everywhere flowing around about that. Like imagine like if that's like the actual case, like they don't want to spend money, and they have to they don't want to spend money on players, and they also have to spend money on two head coaches that they don't have.
Yep.
Like this is gonna be a terrible offseason if that's
Yep.
the case. Like especially, I mean, right, the whole thing with T Higgins, right? He's probably going to be garnering, $30+ million. I don't think the Crafts are going to want to do that if they have to pay off two head coaches that aren't on the freaking team.
And they're still paying Juju.
Yeah.
I don't
Yep.
know. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Philly picked up Devontae Parker's contract. You just a lot
Possibly.
of players that you brought in on 1-year deals, they didn't even make it through the season, so they got paid. So
Mm-hmm.
it just like I said, I don't know for sure, but you put two and two together. I think it goes a little bit deeper than the product on the field. That front office, I feel like that has to be taken a look at.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly put all their eggs in one basket with Gerard, right? Because if they didn't think Bill was the problem, they would have gotten rid of the personnel staff, right? Like you said, the change that they made was getting rid of Bill. So they're definitely, gave Gerard something ridiculous. And
Right.
if they have to get rid of him, then they're screwed because I mean they clearly gave they put everything on Gerard and they're hoping that Gerard is going to be the answer and that Bill was not the answer because everyone else stayed. And like you said, everyone else
It's
is
like,
cheap. So
it's like they felt like, oh, well, everything else is well, but you it seems like you have a conflict with quarterbacks. You ran off Tom and you ruined Mac, so to speak.
mm-hmm.
Let's just go with that narrative. We can't have you next to our next young quarterback that we're going to pick at number 3. And then for Elliott Wolf to come out and say he don't think Bill would have made that pick at 3, he would have traded back for multiple picks. That's a silent, oh, well, I did something different from that guy because had he been here, we still wouldn't have had our quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So it just all seems like well, yeah, we're gonna blame this guy, this, that, and the third. And now, and I'm hoping that I see this, that the players that's coming out of UNC, and these are the must grab guys, the guys that have the character to come into the league, that's succeeding and everything else. Then you know what? The NFL, that's what y'all lost out on. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Because whether you want to sit here and talk about him personally or whatever the case may be, he's a great coach. And like I said, I'll never just put his thing all on one player because there's been plenty of critical situations that Bill was there and handled the job for. And there's a lot of critical situations right now in the league that there's coaches that's not doing it. Like we can't say that we got a defending Super Bowl winner right now. Because even with the Patriots talking about us, Gerard coaching for his job down the stretch, that's a gauntlet. Arizona is still trying to get in. So there's no
I
telling
think
that
all
Kyler
the
Murray.
teams are. Yeah.
Right.
Bills are going
Buffalo.
first seed. Chargers are trying to get a playoff
Exactly.
spot.
So
Cardinals.
Buffalo is going to be playing at the end of the season. I don't know if they're hoping that Buffalo sits their starter because it's any day now the Chiefs may lose a game and Buffalo
Yep.
feels, hold up. All right, we lost 3 games. If Kansas City were to lose one more, Buffalo can jump them and the playoffs will go through Buffalo. So
Yeah.
they're not about to give up no games, especially not to the Patriots. They're going to come out and handle their business early with them. And then, so it's like imagine 2 blowouts to Buffalo and back-to-back weeks. So it's like, yeah, Buffalo started to become a thorn in our side once Josh Allen got Stephon Diggs. But typically, in most cases, Bill wasn't getting blown out by them on a case-by-case basis. You could say, yeah, the playoffs, but usually, he can steal a game or 2 from them. Well, not 2. Lately, it's been 1. Last year, he stole 1 with Mac. I think the year before they swept, but we stole 1 the year before. So it's like that would look terribly bad, and not to mention you lost to the Dolphins when they didn't have Tua. The game for somehow, even without their starting quarterback, that was a close game for you because
Yeah.
you wanted to start Jacoby Brissett. The next one we get blown out. So that's a season sweep versus the Dolphins. We won a lucky game versus the Jets, the second one, because they were that team that when they had all these stats that added up, it was all wins, but the Jets were the first one to lose that game. So, we snuck that one out. So if we lose to Buffalo in blowout fashion twice in a 3-week span, they have to take a look at it because we have to at least get out our division first. That's a guaranteed playoff spot in division. We have
Right.
to get out of there first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's a big place where I would look at. Like, how the hell do we measure up against these guys? Yeah, in due time, we may arguably have the second best quarterback in this draft. Tua is more accomplished because he's been in the league longer. But looking at egg to egg, I think if they were both up in the draft right now, you know who would go.
Right. Yeah.
So
My biggest thing with this stretch, honestly, is the Chargers, because I feel like we've had their name for the past, ever since they got Justin Herbert. I feel like we've always been able to handle our business there. If
that's a
we just
different
get,
team.
yeah, but I mean, right? Herbert has
Team.
always struggled against us. Herbert's still the same quarterback. Like, I mean, I
Yeah,
expected it to be a low scoring game because they have a good defense, but right, something like that where it's a familiar opponent that we've been able to kind of handle pretty well. I'm a little nervous at how that game will go.
yeah.
And then with the Cardinals, I mean, was it last year or the year before where Kyler tore his ACL during the game
Yeah,
against
it
us?
was the year before.
Yeah, right. I mean, that was a game that we kind of held on to the lead, and it wasn't anything like too crazy of a game, right? I think those two games are usually something that we can just handle our business and move on. If we get blown out or just like it's just not a game, right? That's an immediate red flag. Like that's like, okay, Gerard, like you have like one last straw after one of those losses. And then, like you said, the Bills, I don't expect any of those games to be games, right? I can if the Cardinals game goes bad and then the Bills game goes bad like we expect, Gerard could be out by 2 weeks in.
Yeah, I feel like the Cardinals game. If I'm just looking at it from a coaching standpoint, I feel like they might pull a little closer with that one because that's a younger like coaching staff, and there might not be as big of a talent void as
Right. And
you know what I mean. But the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh. Oh, wait, is it John? No, it's Jim. Jim Harbaugh.
yeah, coaching, if that's gonna be a huge coaching gap, which is gonna
Sean
be terrible.
McDermott. And these are
Right. That's a
and these are
telltale
defensive
game.
coaches. And these are veteran defensive coaches that you're about to put your your rookie quarterback up against. And I think Drake may hold his own, but coaching this is where this is the game where it matters because this is late in the season where the coaching is really coming out.
Yeah,
So
like if they
like
pull
I
like a
said,
random
Harbaugh,
thing where they don't have Gonzo anywhere near it, near the top receivers, and they just mow us down, and all the touchdowns are on the opposite side of Gonzo. Right, that's pure coaching right there. Like I think that game will, if Gerard can't, like if we don't make it a game, and it's just clearly that their coaching is better and they're calling the right plays, like that's just gonna be a game over for Gerard. I feel like.
'cause here's where it can get tricky at with the Chargers game. Uh, if Lad McConkey plays, Gonzo, you got to keep him on the perimeter. Even though I believe he can take him in the slot, but that's not something you're gonna want all game because somebody else, what's his name? Uh, they gave Jalen Polk was he was the comp for Jalen Polk. Josh Palmer.
Oh, Josh Palmer, yeah.
Yeah, him versus a Jonathan Jones or Marcus Jones that could get ugly. So it's just a combination thing. Even though these guys are not exactly superstars, they played well within the structure of that game. Quentin Johnston, it just better not be a game where, because I just seen how trash he is. It just better not be a game where he gives his team hope that he should be there next year.
Yeah, if he goes 5 for 6 for 70 yards, like that's a disaster.
Yeah, that is definitely a disaster. So, and like I said, with Harbaugh coaching versus Mayo, it's McDermott and DeMarcus Coverton. Like I don't. That's what I'm saying. Like give the players a chance as to where there are at least 10 players that I can say on both sides of the ball that are a good starting piece for this team. And if
Hmm.
you have the right coaching around them, you can get some out of them. Obviously, Drake May, Christian Gonzalez, Christian Barmore, Michael Wynn, Ramondre Stevenson, Kyle Duggar. You
Hunter
know,
Henry.
yeah. Hunter Henry. I'm trying to kind of leave the older guys a little bit more in the back, just because I'm
Okay.
talking
Yeah.
about like structuring that agent with the team.
Yeah.
You got
Keon.
Duggar, you're right, Keon White, Anthony Jennings. Jawan Bentley, I feel like you have to keep him there just because of the leadership and the captainship of the
Uh,
team. You do want
Pop.
to bring in,
Yep.
yeah,
I like Pop.
Mapu. I feel like Mapu could,
Yep.
with some development, Mapu could be a good choice. So, and that's why I feel like there needs to be certain players there that can groom a player into the defense. Like, I do feel like inside linebacker is atrocious for us. So I feel like even with Bentley coming back next year, you need to bring in some younger, more athletic linebackers that you can develop and have Bentley be their mentor. Because Bentley will continue to show that Patriot way on the defense because it was passed over to him from Hightower and everything else. Bill usually kept it consistent with who he kept in the inside of that defense. So I feel like if they want that lasting effect on it, then yes, you would need somebody like Bentley still on that defense to coach the younger guys. Dietrich Wise would be a good choice too, but at the age 31 and at the production that you're getting, there's no point in paying him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think on the offensive side, David Andrews is kind of that Jawan Bentley where he can kind of teach the young guys. I mean, we don't know how David's going to be after this surgery. It seems like it's going to be a pretty big one, right? Where it's kind of involving
Right.
the arm. But I mean, right, if Cole Strange, if they think that he's going to be, the next center or whatever, right, I think keeping David Andrews around just to kind of coach him up and just kind of move it on. Because we're a younger team, but we are still in a transition where we still have like some of those guys that can kind of really pave the way for all these new guys, especially where we have so many holes, right? David Andrews can help coach all the new linemen that we're getting because we're probably going to have a whole clean slate besides him for the most part, right? And then, like you said, the linebackers, we need a whole new defensive or linebacker type of players, right? Where we've been so used to the big and heavy hard hitters, like we need to get to a little bit more athletic, right? There's a lot of changes that are going to be happening, and having some of those vets will be nice for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, and I just feel like it was just overall with the organization. I could point out so many like nepotism things that it's like, all right, yeah, it's cool to look out for your friends, but like I said, this is the future of guys that's out there putting their bodies on the line. Like I said, just the Jalen Polk pick. You got the who's a wide receiver coach, Tyquan Underwood.
Mm-hmm.
He's Jalen Polk's former wide receivers coach, if I'm not mistaken, from Washington. You brought back in Hightower, which I love, but he's a first year being on the inside linebacker jobs as well, working under a first year defensive coordinator. And so I feel like on the defensive side of the ball as well, where's the elite experience there? Yeah, the offense, we can see that certain things that got better with Drake May's development. And yeah, because you have Ben McAdoo and Alex Van Pelt,
Yeah,
who have been around some pretty good quarterbacks and probably know some pretty good systems. But on that defensive side of the ball, who is a that like a coaching wise, a guy that has that reputable reputation in the NFL and known for having this like type of defense or what coaching tree they came off of and things like that. I can't
yeah.
think of one, So the coaching staff is definitely, as it's just even from Gerard, I feel like maybe it would look better if Gerard had better structure around him.
Right. That's what makes it so tough. Like, it's kind of like with the whole Drake May situations. Like, right? Do you put in this rookie quarterback and with this new, right, he's never played before, and he's in this system that's like not really built for him per se, and like all this kind
Right.
of stuff. Kind of the same with Gerard and the coaching staff in a way where it's like they're all brand new. They're going into a pretty shitty situation. Like, do we handle them the same way as we would handle Drake? And it gets so tricky because it's such a young team, not only player wise but coaching wise. Like right, keeping those vets like David Andrews and the Jawan Bentleys, and I was happy we got Van Pelt just from an experience standpoint, but I just feel like there's too many new guys in the coaching staff for it to like be enough,
Right.
and be keeping them another year just to have them have some sort of experience might help, but it's just there's a lot going on.
Right. And like I said, all that talent stuff, this, that, and the third, like I didn't see players like Booty and all them look like they can be structured marginal pieces for the offense, but it just seems like they pull back or the aggression's not there. But you look at a team like Denver. Denver wasn't good last year, but now they have moved up the charts. Even with Bo Nix, they're probably most athletic, lethal wide receiving threat. They sent them out. They brought in a
Mhm.
few guys in the draft, and they kept Cortland Sutton, who's more of that possession type of receiver that can win those contested catches and everything like that. But Sean Payton gave him a season or two. That's what structure looks like. It's not like we're sitting here talking about any stars on the Denver's offense, but they're just a very good football team. The defense, yeah, you got your Pat Surtains, and then everything else is just filled in from there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the top defenses in the league. He didn't hide behind talent or everything else. He fixed his quarterback problem.
Right, I was about to say we're in a very similar situation with the Broncos, where right we were supposed to have like this elite defense, and we have this rookie quarterback who's been playing well, and there's no reason for us to not be in the same situation record wise as the Broncos. But like you said, right, the coaching staff got themselves in that position where they're fighting for a playoff spot because they recognized what was going on and they were able to make decisions, and they grew some balls and they made them right. With like we were talking about last week, where Gerard and the coaching staff don't really seem to be making those decisions, right? We've had this same offensive line problem all year long, and we're not benching anyone or moving people around,
Right.
kind of keeping the same thing, and it's just been over and over and over the same situation. So yeah, the Broncos is such a good comp for us, and like
Even
how it could
Washington.
have been going on.
Even Washington, they took a pick ahead of us.
Yep.
And even in some games last year, Sam Howell didn't particularly have a bad year. You know what I mean? Sam Howell didn't particularly have a bad year. It's just a few things needed to be fixed up with their defense. And what did they go in there and do? Former first round pick Jamin Davis, they got him out of there. They let go of the first round pick Emmanuel Forbes. Like these is organizations that look when Magic Johnson and Josh Harris and that whatever that buying group bought that team, they
Mm-hmm.
went in there and they cleaned house. And that's what, and yeah, there's some talent discrepancies because obviously you got a Terry McLaurin over there, but just overall that team looks productive, and it's just so funny how it looks when you have a quarterback that vibrates life into your team. The defense somehow plays better as well. Why? Because you can put them in better situations in practice where they're practicing against elite of elites. These coaching staffs know what they're doing. The Patriots, you went the cheap route. This is what this is what we got.
Yeah, and like you said, with like getting rid of Emmanuel Forbes and the other first round pick, right? We kept Taekwon for 3 years too long, right? And then just making the decision with like trying to get Juju and
Should have got
like
rid of him when somebody thought he was worth something. You know what I
right.
mean?
That's the
Like
thing. It's like Taekwon's nothing,
just with
nothing,
the speed alone.
right? I mean, KJ Osborne, we just got rid of him. He should have been gone forever ago. I mean, he wasn't playing. He's been playing in
Right,
like 5 weeks, right?
right.
These decisions need to be faster. They need to be, you know,
Which
um,
which which is crazy because how does receivers that literally had production elsewhere continue to come here and do not play well? Juju Smith, KJ Osborne was a damn good second and third option last year for Minnesota. You know what I mean? I haven't seen him had a 158-yard game, but he came here and didn't play well. I didn't, Juju at times then showed up. Even when he was healthy for the Chiefs at certain points this year, he showed up. But when he got here, he couldn't even eclipse 300, 400 yards. Devontae Parker, I don't know why he signed him anyway. He was always just injury. And
Yeah,
like I
he had
said,
one good year.
Mac Jones' play style was just never would have been for him. Devontae Parker has to be with somebody like a Jameis Winston. Somebody's going to force feed. He's 9 times out of 10, he's going to make a play on the ball. But so it's just like, why does this continue to happen? Then the guys that you're taking in the draft, none of these dudes are playing. So that's why I'm with the whole Alex Van Pelt thing. It's like, all right, Drake May, yes, but there's quarterback coaches there. So we're going to blame the wide receiver coaches, but we're going to keep the offensive coordinator because we feel like he's the one responsible for that. But the rest of the offense has literally suffered. Yeah, Gibson, Antonio Gibson, yeah, he's been playing well. Ramondre has still been Ramondre. But Michael Wynn has regressed.
Right, that's the thing. It's like, that is it. It's just like 2 running backs and Drake May. Right, then every other position, well, I guess tight ends are pretty nice. But like literally every other
position. Like that for years. Hunter Henry's been
right.
Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying with the whole Alex Van Pelt thing. It's like, bro, where else do we go from here? And then I could get the infatuation with the T-Mac, but me watching his tape, I could tell you can go look yourself. It's a lot of trying to quick slant routes, a drag, or a comeback. He's elite with the comeback routes, but I don't see a lot of those. Like he has some film where he can catch downfield to get the contested catches because he has a good catch radius. But his 40 time is definitely going to mean a lot in this draft. But I don't think that's going to solve the Patriots' problem at wide receiver.
No, he's very much like a Mike Evans kind of receiver from what I've been seeing.
But Mike Evans even goes over the top a little bit more with him.
Right.
Like literally, I'm telling you, it's a lot of slants. It's a lot of comebacks. He's elite on that comeback route because he's a big target. He's coming back towards the ball, and he has a good catch radius. But we'll see what we see. But honestly, what the Patriots need is Travis Hunter.
I'm
wide receiver.
I'm starting to like him. But he wasn't run anything.
Awards last night. He Defensive Player of the Year, Biletnikoff Award winner, so Best Wide Receiver in the Country award, and he also won AP Player of the Year and probably going to win Heisman.
Yeah, corner, receiver, offensive player, defensive player, and just Player of the Year.
Yeah,
like disgusting.
Yeah, that's it. That's crazy. So, hopefully they can try to solve that with that. Like even with the T. Higgins thing, like I said it'll definitely help because it'll free up a lot of other guys where you can move a pop or something like that around maybe. But they need a consistent man beater with some speed that can stretch defenses vertically, horizontally, because Drake May has the arm talent to make any one of those throws at any given moment.
Right. That's the thing. Like we were saying with T-Mac, he doesn't run every route, or he doesn't really succeed in all these different routes. Like Drake May can throw the ball to any type of route. You need a guy who can run anything.
Your playbook's not limited with him passing wise. As long as you can get him those type of weapons and that type of coaching that knows how to put defenses in a bind and put them in bad situations because you're stressing them out with so many different pieces and weapons that you have on the field. Not everybody has to go in the first round to be a weapon. There's, like I said, there's just that coaching aspect of it, that knowing what to do to put that player in the best position. You know what I mean? Understanding what you've seen with that player on tape, understanding the type of routes that they ran. You know what I mean? Even if it has to take you down to individually run what routes was ran, where they lined up at on the field and things like that, because that tells us of, okay, now you're looking at the production. Okay, was the production high or was it low? Because then if it's like, oh, well, they ain't getting enough production out of it, looking at what Jacksonville did with Trayvon Walker. Well, Georgia was moving him all over the line. So, you know, we feel like he can, we took him over Aiden Hutchinson, and how did that turn out? You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
where look at some of these players where they're good at a lot of things, but they haven't mastered anything. And then, so I
Yeah,
just feel like with the Patriots coaching staff, free agency in this draft is not exactly going to be easy for him because it's not the strongest draft, and as well as the free agency market. Do you get your tackle right there in free agency? Because if you're still sitting at the top of the draft, the Patriots, either you're going to take Travis Hunter or they might have to be in a position where they have to draft back because three would be too high to take a Will Campbell or a Kelvin Banks. That would
right.
just be simply too high and idiotic just to take them there when there's other teams that you can let climb up in them spots and do what they need to do, as well as get yourself some equity. So, you know, with this front office, like I said, there's a lot of people that's not as happy right now, but I'm hoping, but I'm just being realistic about just the picture that I see in the future. And yeah, it's definitely going to take some strategic moves and understanding of maybe what we can get now versus what we can get later. What is the year on this process plan? Like what all right, so what's the goal for year two for the crafts? All right, if you keep Gerard Mayo here, what would be the goal for year two? Are you expecting to be a playoff team in year two? Because
Right.
then if that's the case, there's a lot of things that the Patriots need to do. And
Yeah,
that
they need to
hundred
be guts. They need to be
that
gutsy.
130 million, honestly, like I said, it's not like this is a free agency where you can just spray money all over the lot. That 130 million is just to make sure, honestly, that you do not get outbidded by anybody for T.
That's the thing.
Higgins.
That money's got to go to like, three players in the offseason. And it's got to be the right people, the right amount of money, right? And like, yeah, like you said, you can't get outbid. There's
You can't
no
get
way we can.
outbidded for T. Higgins. You can't. And now, honestly, you're in a situation, Kraft, where you may have to overpay. And he's probably going to be upset about what he has to pay or whatever the case may be with the signing bonus and the guaranteed money that's put on the front end of that contract. But here's the thing, it's going to put more pressure on Wolf to perform in these drafts because now that's how you offset that money.
Right.
Where now you don't want to drag it along where, oh, you done wasted 2 years of Drake May's development, don't reach the playoffs. Now year three, they're looking better. He reaches the playoffs. Year four, he looks great. So now what happens in year five?
Yep. Time to pay up.
Dallas, you got about 2 to 3 years.
I'm gonna say Gonzo. He's gonna bring
Yeah.
in fun.
So you just paid Baltimore, deservingly so. So it's like, are you going to keep kicking the can down the road to try to win playoff games and win Super Bowls and wait till these guys have to get paid? Because that's a lot of teams' problem. You develop players for other people. Because now you sat here and you spent all this money over the years trying to get all these star players and didn't get to your ultimate goal. And now maybe your younger players that you drafted and you hit on, they're about ready to walk out the door, or you got to make decisions now because you didn't reach your ultimate goal when spending all that money. So now
Mm-hmm.
you can develop the player for somebody else, or you're trading him to somebody else to be a star piece. Look at Tennessee. Can't get the quarterback right. AJ Brown, look what he meant to Philly. Derrick Henry, look what he meant to Baltimore. That's because they wasted that. They wasted that by not getting rid of a Ryan Tannehill earlier. You understand what I'm saying? They wasted that by trading players behind their coach's back. Because Mike Vrabel didn't even know that they traded AJ Brown and they were even going to do
Yeah,
that.
I remember that. Yeah.
So, and I'm just saying, like, this front office and the way that the Patriots look right now, I don't want to see them become that type of organization because, like I said, I'm a fan. And I want to see the team do well, but it's like, playing in our face, like that's not going to do it. Playing in
Yeah,
the fans' face, that's just not going to do it because at this point, it's just an insult. It's an insult.
yeah. Seeing a potential of Drake May get wasted is probably my biggest fear. Right?
Right.
Like this is you found the hardest piece. Right? You like this was like the number one thing to do, and you better get the rest right. Because if you can get Drake May in the quarterback situation right, then you have to get everything else right. That is the hardest one, and you were able to do it. I'll give them props for doing it, but everything else has to happen.
Yeah, because it's like, what is so hard about wide receiver that the Patriots can't get? Hold on, go for a second because I'm about to look up a receiver that I wanted us to take in the second round. Let's see his stats from the season quick.
Yeah, at least recently since Nikhil, I feel like we've just been searching for, the guy, the contested deep ball guy, and we've been looking for someone who can take the top off. And I mean, right, we did that with Nikhil, we did that with Taekwon, we did that with Devontae Parker, right? Jalen Polk is a contested catch guy. I feel like we've been chasing like this one type of receiver, and we clearly don't understand what that type of receiver is. And I just
Right.
wish we could kind of get away from it and try to find something more of like an element, right? Because that's been working, right? We had Edelman, Hogan,
Bad lad
Amendola,
right there.
stuff like that. Like just do something that works, right? If we can get more of those kind of guys, like someone to pair with Demario Douglas, that's a little bit more consistent than like a Kendrick Bourne, right? Just find something that we've been able to do, and then right, T Higgins, he's bona fide. He's the guy that we've been trying to look for, and he's proven in the league. Just go for that. Like stop trying to draft. Stop trying to get like these guys who they're struggling, like Devontae Parker, where he hasn't played well in forever, right? Like they're trying to do like what Bill's been able to do, where he can find like these guys who aren't really nothing and brings them in and they're something, right? He was able to do that because Brady also helped that situation, right?
Yeah.
We've been just trying to chase this one particular thing and we just can't do it, and we're just trying over and over and over again.
So I had my eyes on Adonai Mitchell when I kept seeing him drop,
Yep.
but he only got 20 catches and 250 yards on the season, but he's averaging 12.7 yards a catch. And honestly, I look at that. That one's a hard one because it's like, yeah, there's no production there, but at the same time, look at who his quarterback is, Anthony
Right.
Richardson. So there's like not
Right.
much production there. I'm going to look at Ladd too because that was the Patriots pick that they traded to the Chargers. So the
He's gonna
Chargers
haunt
pick Ladd.
forever. He's going
Yeah,
to haunt
like that
forever.
right there was just I don't know what that was. Like I said, to sit there and take Polk. Yeah, Lad McConkey, 58 catches, 815 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's averaging 14 yards a catch.
Yeah, he's been incredible. He's been an
And
absolute stud.
you took a Polk, and it's like, oh well, what do we do with Pop? Like, I like Pop Douglas. Like, so now you guys can get into the more spread formations where you can use Pop and Lad more to the inside of the field. You understand what I'm saying? Even if you want to come in and Hunter Henry can get into a stand-up slot situation or something like that. That'd be something that'll put stress on the middle of a defense, knowing that you don't have an outside threat. That when you go
Yeah.
into these spread situations, you can put a Pop and a Lad on the field, and they can go out against these zone coverages and find these areas on the field where they can get open at and things like that. But move wasn't made, and we got Pope I'm guessing that they were trying to solve the outside X problem with Jalen Pope. That just doesn't seem like it's working, and you only bring him in. Like literally, like the play call is so predictable that Jalen Polk only comes on the field when it's a run play. Like literally, I'm telling you, I'm watching for it because he comes in and he runs blocks.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine spending your second round pick on a blocking receiver.
Oh, N'Keal Harry Jr. Except for he went a couple picks ahead. Like what, 15 picks ahead?
Yep. Yeah, he was picked 21st or something like that. Whatever.
31st. Nah, 32nd actually. We picked him. He was the last pick of the first
Yep.
round. First
Yeah.
wide receiver taken in the Belichick era, the first round. And that's what came out of it.
Yep.
He looked decent. I think, what was it, his second year? I remember Kansas City robbed us for his touchdown.
Well, that was the turning point that everyone kind of says is if that counted, who knows how good and Kill Harry could be, right? That was kind of the nail in the coffin on his career.
Right.
After that, a disaster.
He became a tight end after that because it was always the people, man. That college game, man. The field is a lot more open. Where these guys that don't separate like that, they can get open or they have a little bit more of a window to make plays on the ball. So N'Keal Harry's biggest thing was when he got the ball in his hand, he was kind of like a wrecking ball. But the only thing was, well, how do we get him the ball? He
Right. Can't catch, can't get open.
Yeah, he can't seem to really get open from any of these guys where we can use him in a way, get him in space to be that wrecking ball. And honestly, I feel like that's the same case with Pope. What Pope ran like a 4.5. That's not horrible, but you would want you want your receivers, unless they're like just a great route technician, then yeah, a 4.5 could work for you. But
right.
Because Keenan Allen, I think, ran like a 4.6, but
I would say him and I don't think Devontae Adams ran anything too fast.
Yeah, but like I said, understanding the routes and the stems in the route and where, the footwork, yeah. But Jalen Pope, it showed that he was a good catcher of the ball. Like he can win some one-on-one catches down the field. Same with Baker. I feel like Baker's a little more explosive.
Yeah, we have to wait another week for him. He's in freaking concussion protocol.
Yeah, Baker, man. With him, like I don't know what's up with him. Is he his own biggest enemy, or is he not as good as he think he is? Because he got his own little YouTube web show, and it shows like on the grind. Like they always said there was some character concerns. So I don't know, but these are the players that was taken, and now, like I said, this is a weaker draft. And free agency, you shouldn't be outbidded by T. Higgins. If T. Higgins is enticed by money, he'll be a Patriot. But if another Super Bowl contender comes talking to him and tell him that he got a legitimate chance to reach there with them and receive the ball, that could be a problem. So the Chargers could be a team to watch in the T. Higgins thing. So that could be a serious problem.
Yep. Well, we'll see how Sunday goes and kind of go from there. And we'll see how the rest of the season goes. Really, just everything's gonna go. But
I got mixed feelings, bro. I don't know what to feel like. It's like, all right, can we get Gerard out the building? But then it's like, I want to see the team do well. Then they start winning, and it's like, hold up, we got hoaxed because this isn't good still. You know what I mean? This still is a good season, and then it's like, all right. So
do we want the draft pick, or do we want Drake May to start winning stringing some wins together, and the team getting some confidence?
Get this guy out of here.
Right, and then we're in like a limbo situation, but we'll see how the chips fall. But all right. Well, it was good talking to you.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Yeah, see ya.
We're on to Cincinnati. It's nothing about the past, nothing about the future. Right now, we're preparing for Cincinnati.
Okay. Do you feel like the talent you have here is good?
We're getting ready for Cincinnati.
What is your responsibility?
I'm just asking. Do you think you've done enough to help Tom Brady?
We're getting ready for Cincinnati.